Welcome to Spring LIB.
Okay, all these questions are about water or n-heptane, right? Water and heptane. What's the difference between them? That's probably important here. Water is a polar solvent, and n-heptane is a non-polar solvent, right? Okay, so all these questions rely on the fact that water is polar and n-heptane is not. And the first is asking us which would be the better solvent for potassium iodide, right? Potassium iodide is an ionic compound. It's formed from K plus and I minus, right? So if we want to dissolve an ionic compound, we want a polar solvent, right? Because this is a very polar compound, and like dissolves like. That's polar things dissolve polar things, or ionic things dissolve ionic things. Okay, next we've got, this is nitric acid. If you weren't aware of the structure of nitric acid, let's see, HNO3. This is the structure of HNO3. Now, interestingly, the thing with acids like this is that this hydrogen, if we were to put this in water, would effectively disconnect, right? And we'd get an O minus and an H plus. We don't really have to rely on that, but I will point out that this is partially negative and this is partially positive. Okay, so once again, this molecule is very polar. We've literally got a positively charged nitrogen and a negatively charged oxygen, plus this acidic OH would quickly dissociate in water, and we'd have an even more charged couple of structures. We'd have hydrogen floating around, and then we'd have this as an O minus as well. Very polar. H2O, right? Like dissolves like. Polar solvent will dissolve polar molecule. Okay, last one is about C60, which is a buckyball. Now, I can't draw a buckyball, but I will tell you that a buckyball is comprised entirely of carbon and hydrogen, right? It's all carbon-carbon bonds. Actually, I think it's entirely of carbon. I don't think it's hydrogen. Yeah, it's comprised entirely of carbon. So all the bonds are nonpolar, right? Carbon-carbon bonds are nonpolar, and buckyballs comprised entirely of nonpolar bonds. Well, then that means it's a nonpolar molecule, and our nonpolar solvent will be able to dissolve it. N-heptane is the answer for C60.